So, welcome to Exodus 19, a nation married to Yah, with your host, Richard Massey. I pray that you guys are having a blessed Sabbath. I pray that also, whatever you and your family are going through, that Yah gives you the strength to go through it. So, today I wanted to talk about the difference between when the Bible reads the law, commandments, and when it reads covenant. And I wanted to see if there was a difference. What does the Bible mean when it reads how it reads? How did I, not you, how did I get confused and think that everything was everything? I want to try to explain and show you why maybe I was confused, and now why maybe I try to show how I think I'm kind of on the right track. So let's turn to First Maccabees 2, and we're going to start at 26. Even though this is like in the middle of the story, you can go back and read from 1 on down. But I wanted to read from First Maccabees 2:26 and see if I could see a difference in how the Bible is reading from how I used to understand it before. So it says, "Thus dealt he zealously for the law of Yah, like as Phineas did unto Zimri, the son of Shalom. Thus dealt he zealously for the law of Yah, for the law of Yah." And even though the law was created 430 years after the covenant, I think one of the key words here is Phineas, how the King James pronounces his name as Phineas. The zeal dealt thus dealt he zealously for the law of Yah as Phineas did unto Zambri the son of Shalom. Okay. And Matthias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, "Whosoever is zealous of the law and maintaineth the covenant, let him follow me." You see how he used two different words that to me have a time stamped on them. He says, "And Matthias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, Whosoever is zealous of the law and maintaineth the covenant, let him follow me." Whosoever is zealous of the law and maintain the covenant, let him follow me. How I would take that before was I would not even consider the word covenant, but I would focus on the fact that he said law. Because this is how I read it now. And Phineas cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, "Whosoever is zealous of the covenant and maintaineth the covenant, let him follow me." Well, how you get that? Because if he's bringing you back to Elohim, Yah and Abraham had a covenant. And again, the law didn't come to into form until 430 years after the covenant. And the covenant and the law was only created because of the disobedience of the people after they built the golden calf. The covenant was always in existence, way before the law. So he wouldn't have been pulling you into the law because the law was a schoolmaster. It was the umpire. It was counting and showing you when you did wrong. But this is talking about if you are zealous for Genesis 12. And he and his sons fled into the mountains and left all that ever they had in the city. So something was happening here. Somebody was coming into their city to take over. So they left the city and they ran into the mountains, right? Then many that sought after justice and judgment went down into the wilderness to dwell there, both they and their children and their wives and their cattle, because afflictions increased sore upon them. Now, when it was told the king's servants and the host that was at Jerusalem in the city of David that certain men who had broken the king's commandment were going down into the secret places in the wilderness. It says they pursued after them a great number, and having overtaken them, they camped against them and made war against them on the Sabbath day. And they said unto them, let that which ye have done hereto suffice. Come forth and do according to the commandments of the king, and ye shall live. So they're trying to get them to come back up, right? But they said, we will not come forth, neither will we do the king's commandments. We don't do what another king is telling us to. We're not going to profane the Sabbath day. And that's another way how you can tell that they are honoring the covenant and not the law, even though the law contains information based on the Sabbath. The Sabbath, so that the covenant contain information on the Sabbath as well, as you can see in Genesis 1, Genesis, the first chapter, when Yah created the Sabbath. Genesis 1:1 to Exodus 24:9 or 24:13. Genesis 1 to Exodus 24:9 is all covenant. The law does not exist yet. So when you see something about the Sabbath, it's further explained in Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, and then throughout the book. But the Sabbath originally started in Genesis, covenant, right? So the law has the Sabbath in it, and the covenant that Yah created has the Sabbath in it. Oh, yeah. Howbeit they answered him not, neither cast they a stone at them, nor stopped the places where they had hid, but said, let us die all in our innocency. Heaven and earth will testify for us that ye put us to death wrongfully. No matter what you do, we're not going to do this on the Sabbath day. Look how important this is, that they don't break the Sabbath. So they rose up against them in battle on the Sabbath and slew them with their wives and children and their cattle to the number of 1,000 people. Now, when Matthias and his friends understood hereof, they mourned for them right sore. And one of them said to another, if we all do as our brethren and have done, and fight not for our lives in laws against the heathen, they will now quickly root us out of the earth. So he's saying, if we don't fight on the Sabbath, we're not even going to be existent. But look how much this is a major concern, because most of the times when somebody's trying to kill you, you'll throw your belief out the window for the most part to try to live another day. But the first people that you just saw, they died because they would not fight on the Sabbath. So the enemy took the advantage and just go ahead and just went on ahead and killed them anyway. Right? So now this gentleman here is telling Matthias that, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. I'm sure I'm not. that if we don't fight, we're going to die. And at that time they decreed, saying, whosoever shall come to make battle with us on the Sabbath day, we will fight against them, neither will we die all, as our brethren that were murdered in the secret places. So they killed our brothers. They didn't respect the fact that we were trying to live by the covenant. They killed them anyway. So we're going to say that now we're going to fight. We are going to fight. We're not going to just stand around. Then came there unto them a company of Assyrians, who were mighty men of Israel, even all such as were voluntarily devoted unto the law or unto the covenant. Because the word law don't mean law right now, even though it means law. It means covenant. And all they that fled for persecution joined themselves unto them and were stayed unto them. So these men were going to protect them. These men were actually fighters. And they were dedicated to the covenant. So they joined their forces and smote sinful men in their anger and wicked men in their wrath, but the rest fled into the heathen for security. Then Methuselah and his friends went round about and put down the altars. So they tore everything down, right? And what children soever they found within the coast of Israel, uncircumcised, those they circumcised vehemently. They pursued also after proud men, and the works prospered in their hand. So they recovered the law out of the hand of the Gentiles and out of the hand of the kings, neither suffered they the sinners to triumph. Now, when the time drew near that Methuselah should die, he said unto his sons, now hath pride and rebuke gotten strength, and the time of destruction, and the wrath of indignation. Therefore, my sons, be zealous for the law, be zealous for the covenant, and give your lives for the covenant of your father. Now, let me read it the way it actually says. It says, now, therefore, my sons, be zealous for the law, and give your lives for the covenant of your fathers. But the way I'm trying to look at it is, now, therefore, my sons, be zealous for the covenant, and give your lives for the covenant of your fathers. That's First Maccabees 2:50. He says, call to remembrance what act our fathers did in their time. Why you have to call to remembrance what they did? So ye shall receive great honor and an everlasting name. This is what you're going to get when you follow the covenant. Now look at who he uses as an example. He says, was not Abraham found faithful in temptation, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness? Why Abraham? Because the covenant promise was given to Abraham. Said Genesis 1:1 does have some examples of the covenant in it. Set the Sabbath day. Then in Genesis 12, Yah makes a covenant, an unconditional covenant with Abraham. Right? Then in Genesis 15, Abraham comes back to Yah and says, hey, you know about that covenant that you made with me a while back? He says, how do I know that you're going to actually perform what you said you were going to perform? Strike. So Yah says, okay, so you're not what I counted to you as righteousness. So now you're coming back and asking me, how do you know? You don't believe I'm going to do it because I said it? Okay, I'll tell you what you do. You cut open some animals and you flay them open and you lay them to the side. And we're going to do a blood oath. I'm going to walk through and I'm going to guarantee that I'm going to do what I'm going to do. But now in Genesis 15, what was once unconditional is now conditional. When you mess up, and if you mess up, X, Y, and Z is going to happen, right? So now from Genesis 15, that I would say to now, it's a little different now than it was from Genesis 12. So he says, was not Abraham found faithful in temptation, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness? Because in Genesis 12, when Abraham first heard it, he said, man, okay. Yeah, I said, I'm going to make you a father of many nations. I'm going to give you all this land and do all these things for you. Your kids are not going to be able to be counted because they're going to be like the stars or like the sands on the sea. It's going to be so many. And then he says, Joseph, in the time of his distress kept the commandments with a covenant and was made Lord over Mizraim or over Egypt. Joseph, he didn't sleep with the king's wife. He was honorable. He was a good man. Yah used him because he followed the covenant. He was second in command. He was second in command in Egypt. He could have slept with his wife. He could have been stupid and did something, but he ran from her every time he saw her until she made a false accusation and got him put in prison. It says, Phineas, our father, in being zealous and fervent, obtained the covenant of an everlasting priesthood. It says, Yahshua, fulfilling the word, was made a judge in Israel. How does Yahshua fulfill it? Because when he lived and he walked on this earth, and he fed people, and he healed people, and he loved people, and he taught people, and never turned them away. When he died on the cross, right? Or before he died on the cross, and he had the Passover, he said, drink, this is my new covenant, which is not new. He's taking you back. He's taking the sons back to the Father. And I know I'm all over the place. This is a lot of meat right here. Same thing with Elijah. What's Elijah's main function? To turn the hearts of the sons back to the Father. What is Yahshua trying to do? Turn the hearts of the sons back to the Father. He said, I come not in my own name. He said, I don't have no will. This is my Father's will. Where is my Father's will at? Genesis 12. Genesis 12. He said, I don't come to do my own will. He said, I come in my Father's name. I'm a representative of my Father. I don't have no agenda. This is all based on him. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to die on the cross to disconnect the law from you, because when the law was in existence, you couldn't marry another, right? As long as the husband was alive, the wife was to remain with that husband, but she couldn't remarry again until the husband died. Well, you can't come back into the covenant until I come here. So now that I'm here and I'm teaching, and I'm trying to take you back to the Father's covenant, when I die on the cross, your marriage with the law will be broken. Now you can remarry. And now you can go back to my dad. The original plan for your life. '56, it says, Caleb, for bearing witness before the congregation, received the heritage of the land. David, for being merciful, possessed the throne of an everlasting kingdom. See all these examples of these men? Elias, for being zealous and fervent, for the law was taken up into heaven. Elias, for being zealous and fervent for the law, he was taken up into heaven. Even though what Elias was teaching, the law wasn't even in existence yet. Am I getting my timelines mixed up? So should that read Elias for being zealous and fervent for the covenant was taken up into heaven? Because am I getting my timelines mixed up to even saying that I'm wrong? I'm trying to think at what point. No, he would have to be talking about the covenant. Ananias, Azarias, Michelle, by believing, was saved out of the flame. And that's David. So we are talking about in the period of the law. But these guys did. Now look at David, right? Even though David was in Babylon and they wanted him to follow the laws of the Babylonians, right? David got in trouble because he did things covenant wise. He didn't even eat of the dainty meat that they wanted to offer him. He prayed certain numerous times a day, right? 3 times a day in the window. So Yah watched after him because he didn't change his ways. I said, David, and this is this day right here. This I'm gonna let this podcast right here go on, but this is not a good day for me. I'm just Daniel for his innocency was delivered from the mouths of lions, and thus consider thou throughout all the ages that none that put their trust in him shall be overcome. Fear not then the words of the sinful man, for his glory shall be dung and worms. Today he shall be lifted up, and tomorrow he shall not be found, because he returned to his dust. And his thoughts is come to nothing. So that's another thing in reference to the dead. It says, because he has returned to his dust, and his thoughts has become nothing. That's a story for another day. Wherefore, my sons, be valiant, valiant, and show forth yourselves, men in the behalf of the law, for by it shall ye obtain glory. And behold, I know that your brother Simeon is a man of counsel. Give ear unto him always. He shall be a father unto you. For as for Judas Maccabees, he had been mighty and strong, even from his youth up. Let him be your captain and fight the battle of people. It says, take also unto you all those that observe the law, and avenge ye the wrong of your people. Recompense fully the heathen, and take heed to the commandments of the law. So he blessed them and was gathered unto his fathers. So I probably didn't make this look better. I'm just being honest. This is not a good day right here as far as my storyline. I don't feel like I won you over with this one. But I'm going to let it go anyway because I don't want it to always show when things go right. But just look at Genesis 1:1 to Exodus 24:9. And when you come across a particular subject, like after Exodus 24:9 on to Revelations, compare everything to me. I say compare everything to Genesis 1:1 to Exodus 24:9. Because you still have to honor the Sabbath. It's in Genesis. You still have to do the feast. That's in Leviticus where Yah says, these feasts are mine, and they're a mark in the zeal. This is how you show, and this is how it's shown who my people are. Stay away from swine's flesh and seafood of certain sorts. These things are all a part of the covenant. The only thing that we don't do is what the Levitical priesthood did. Because Yah is our final sacrifice. He is our temple. He is our priest. So we don't slaughter animals anymore because he is our final sacrifice. So I hope you guys are having a blessed remaining of your day. Exodus 19, a nation married to Yah. Shalom. Welcome to Exodus 19, a nation married to Yah, with your host, Richard Massey.